Welcome back to Mystery Minds, the channel where we dive into the darkest corners of true crime, uncovering stories that shock, intrigue, and leave us questioning the world around us. In today's case, we unravel a chilling tale of betrayal, greed, and the shocking lengths one mother went to for money and fame. This is the story of Melinda Harper and her daughter, Ava. What happens when love turns into manipulation and obsession? And how does a public persona mask a dark and twisted reality? Stay with us as we uncover the tragic story of deception, exploitation, and a life cut far too short. Imagine a mother whose love wasn't unconditional but transactional, a woman who saw her child not as a blessing but as a brand. A family's seemingly perfect life unraveled by greed, lies, and one horrifying act. Melinda Harper was the kind of mother who seemed to have it all together. As a single parent, she juggled work, household responsibilities, and the care of her 10-year-old daughter, Ava. From the outside, their life seemed challenging but admirable. Melinda's social media accounts were a constant stream of updates about Ava's bravery and their shared bond. She presented herself as a doting, selfless mother, tirelessly fighting to give her daughter the best life possible, despite unimaginable challenges. Ava, according to Melinda, was battling a rare and debilitating illness that had dominated most of her young life. Photos of Ava in hospital beds, looking pale and fragile, were often accompanied by heartfelt captions. Melinda described the struggles of dealing with endless doctor appointments, sleepless nights, and the mounting medical bills that seemed impossible to manage. Her audience couldn't help but be moved by her determination and love for Ava. Melinda's online presence grew quickly. What started as a small Facebook group to keep friends and family updated on Ava's condition became a YouTube channel called Ava's Journey. The channel attracted thousands of followers, with viewers captivated by the mother-daughter duo's story. Melinda shared emotional videos of Ava undergoing treatments, celebrating small victories and facing setbacks with courage. Donations began pouring in from well-meaning strangers who wanted to help, along with sponsorship deals from companies looking to associate their brand with Melinda's story of perseverance. In her small community, Melinda was celebrated as a hero. Local news outlets ran features on her, praising her strength and resilience. At school, Ava's classmates and teachers rallied around her, organizing fundraisers and events to show their support. To everyone watching, Melinda was a picture of unwavering love and sacrifice. But not everyone was convinced. Some of the people closest to the Harpers noticed small inconsistencies that didn't add up. Ava's condition seemed to worsen dramatically when Melinda was filming videos or preparing social media posts. Medical professionals, while sympathetic, found it odd that Ava's symptoms didn't align with any known condition. And despite the apparent severity of Ava's illness, she sometimes appeared healthier and more active than one would expect from a child in her situation. These doubts were dismissed as cynicism by most, brushed aside by Melinda's unwavering followers. After all, who would lie about something so tragic? Still, the whispers grew louder among those paying closer attention. A nurse at one of Ava's regular clinics began noticing troubling patterns in her visits. Test results didn't match the symptoms Melinda described, and Ava's medical history seemed incomplete and fragmented. The suspicions were subtle at first, barely noticeable threads in a carefully woven story. But as Melinda's fame grew, so did the cracks in her narrative. Behind the warm smiles and heartwarming posts lay a secret that would soon shatter the facade of the perfect mother and reveal a truth more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. As Ava's supposed condition grew more severe, Melinda's online presence expanded in equal measure. The once occasional updates became near daily chronicles of their journey. Ava was frequently shown in hospital gowns connected to IV drips, or sitting weakly in wheelchairs, her pale face a symbol of quiet resilience. Melinda's captions told stories of late-night emergencies, long hours in waiting rooms, and the financial strain of treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. She described Ava's bravery in vivid detail, portraying her as a fighter who faced adversity with a strength beyond her years. The response from her followers was overwhelming. Thousands of people shared her posts, leaving messages of encouragement and prayers. Donations continued to pour in, funding experimental treatments that Melinda claimed were Ava's only hope. Gifts arrived at their doorstep: stuffed animals, handmade blankets, and letters from strangers moved by their story. Melinda would often post videos thanking her followers, tears streaming down her face as she expressed her gratitude for their generosity. The small-town community where Melinda and Ava lived also rallied around them. Local businesses held fundraisers, schools organized charity drives, and churches passed around donation baskets. Ava became a symbol of hope and perseverance, and Melinda was hailed as a devoted mother making unimaginable sacrifices. But behind the outpouring of support, small cracks in the story began to emerge. Emily Grant, a nurse at one of the hospitals Ava frequented, had grown increasingly uneasy. She had worked with many children facing serious illnesses, but something about Ava's case didn't feel right. The symptoms Melinda described were inconsistent and often vague. Ava's test results didn't match the dire prognosis Melinda shared online, and some of the medications prescribed to her seemed unnecessary, even harmful. Emily's unease grew when she noticed that Ava's condition appeared to worsen only during specific visits, usually ones where Melinda was particularly emotional or filming content for her social media. Others in the medical community began to share Emily's concerns. Dr. James Carter, a specialist who had been brought in to consult on Ava's case, noticed similar red flags. Ava's medical records were disorganized and incomplete, with key details missing or contradictory. Some tests that Melinda claimed had been performed didn't appear in her file, and there were inconsistencies in the medications Melinda said Ava was taking. Despite these growing doubts, no one was willing to outright accuse Melinda of wrongdoing. The risk of being wrong was too great, and the consequences of challenging a grieving mother could be devastating. Meanwhile, Melinda continued to amplify her platform, collaborating with other influencers and sharing more of Ava's journey. Each post brought in more donations and increased the pressure to maintain her story. For Emily, the weight of her suspicions was becoming unbearable. She couldn't ignore the signs any longer, but she knew she needed more concrete evidence before taking action. Quietly, she began documenting her observations and consulting with trusted colleagues, unaware that she was uncovering the first threads of a horrifying truth. While the world celebrated Melinda as a hero, a dark question loomed. What if Ava's illness wasn't real? Ava's health seemed to deteriorate rapidly, and the timing could not have been more public. Melinda's social media updates became increasingly desperate, with teary pleas for prayers and help. Photos of Ava unconscious in a hospital bed, her small frame surrounded by machines and monitors, went viral. Melinda described how her daughter was in critical condition, fighting for her life as the medical bills piled up. Donations surged, and national news outlets picked up the story. Ava became a symbol of innocence and bravery, while Melinda was lauded as a mother enduring unimaginable hardship. But behind the scenes, the situation took a far darker turn. Emily Grant, the nurse who had long suspected something was wrong, had taken her concerns to Dr. James Carter, one of Ava's attending specialists. Together, they began quietly investigating Melinda's claims. What they uncovered was shocking. Ava's medical records revealed no official diagnosis that matched the symptoms Melinda described. Her test results consistently came back normal, and there was no evidence of the life-threatening illness Melinda so vividly portrayed. What troubled Dr. Carter the most was Ava's latest hospitalization. Blood tests showed traces of medications that had not been prescribed by any doctor treating her. These substances were not only unnecessary but highly dangerous, capable of inducing the very symptoms Melinda had been describing for months. The pattern was clear. Ava's worsening condition wasn't due to a rare disease but to deliberate poisoning. Dr. Carter alerted hospital administrators, who contacted law enforcement. A forensic toxicologist was brought in to analyze Ava's medical history and the substances found in her blood. The results confirmed their worst fears. Ava had been poisoned repeatedly over several months. The doses of the drugs were carefully calculated to cause debilitating symptoms without killing her outright. It was a calculated act, one designed to keep Ava sick enough to maintain Melinda's narrative. As the investigation deepened, Melinda remained oblivious. She continued posting updates online, sharing tearful videos from Ava's bedside and thanking her supporters for their generosity. Her followers were unaware of the storm brewing behind the scenes. The police began gathering evidence, combing through Melinda's financial records and social media accounts. They discovered that the money meant for Ava's treatments had been used for luxury items, designer clothes, expensive vacations, and even a brand new car. Emily watched in silence as the truth unfolded, torn between relief that her suspicions were validated and horror at what it meant. Ava's condition was not the result of fate or genetics, but the deliberate actions of her own mother. The revelation was almost too much to bear. The authorities knew they had to act carefully. Ava's life was still at risk, and any sudden move could push Melinda to take drastic actions. The community remained in the dark, continuing to rally behind Melinda as she portrayed herself as a devoted mother fighting an impossible battle. But the reality was far more sinister. Each passing day brought Ava closer to the brink, and the people working to save her knew time was running out. As the investigation deepened, authorities began connecting the dots in Melinda Harper's elaborate scheme. Detectives uncovered financial records that painted a damning picture of greed and manipulation. Melinda had raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from well-meaning strangers, all of whom believed they were helping Ava fight a deadly illness. But the money hadn't gone toward medical bills or treatments. Instead, it had funded a lifestyle that stood in stark contrast to the selfless image Melinda projected online. Credit card statements revealed extravagant purchases, high-end clothing, luxury handbags, expensive jewelry, and even a lavish vacation to a tropical resort. Photos from the trip, which Melinda never posted publicly, showed her enjoying spa treatments and fine dining while Ava was supposedly in the throes of life-threatening illness. Investigators also found invoices for home renovations, including a new kitchen and an elaborate backyard patio, all paid for with donation money. Melinda's online activity was equally incriminating. Detectives combed through her social media accounts and found evidence that many of Ava's symptoms had been fabricated. Posts detailing emergency hospital visits didn't align with Ava's medical records. Photos of Ava in hospital settings were often staged, with Melinda bringing her to clinics under false pretenses. She would insist on unnecessary tests and procedures, all while filming content for her YouTube channel. What shocked investigators the most was the discovery of the medications Melinda had been secretly administering to Ava. These drugs, purchased online and through illegal sources, were known to cause severe side effects when given inappropriately. Toxicology reports showed that Ava had been receiving carefully measured doses, enough to make her sick but not immediately fatal. The pattern was chilling in its precision, revealing a calculated effort to keep Ava perpetually unwell to sustain Melinda's narrative. The weight of the evidence was undeniable, but the authorities faced a delicate challenge. Ava's life was still in danger, and they couldn't risk alerting Melinda before ensuring Ava's safety. A plan was set in motion to apprehend Melinda while protecting Ava from further harm. Meanwhile, the facade Melinda had built was beginning to crack in subtle but telling ways. Close friends and neighbors noticed her growing nervousness and uncharacteristic behavior. She became more secretive, avoiding direct questions about Ava's condition and lashing out at anyone who expressed skepticism. The once charismatic supermom was unraveling, though her loyal followers remained none the wiser. The community's unwavering support for Melinda only fueled the urgency of the investigation. Fundraisers were still being organized, and donations continued to flow in as Melinda's emotional pleas became more desperate. Each day that passed without intervention was another day Ava remained at risk. The tipping point came when detectives obtained surveillance footage of Melinda administering medication to Ava during one of her hospital stays. The video, combined with toxicology reports and financial records, provided irrefutable proof of her actions. It was the final piece of the puzzle, and with it, law enforcement was ready to take the case public. As plans to arrest Melinda were finalized, the community remained blissfully unaware of the dark truth about the woman they had trusted and celebrated. What had started as a story of hope and perseverance was about to become a tale of betrayal and unimaginable cruelty. Ava's life hung in the balance, and the countdown to justice had begun. The arrest of Melinda Harper sent shockwaves through the small town and beyond. When police arrived at the hospital where Ava was being treated, Melinda had been sitting at her daughter's bedside, posting another tearful update on social media. She barely had time to react as officers entered the room, handcuffed her, and escorted her out. Onlookers were stunned, some even questioning what mistake could have been made. To her loyal followers, Melinda's arrest was unthinkable, a tragic misunderstanding. But the truth was finally coming to light. Ava, still recovering from months of poisoning, was taken into protective custody. Doctors and specialists worked around the clock to stabilize her condition. Though the damage to her body was extensive, the removal of the substances Melinda had been administering gave her a fighting chance. For the first time in years, Ava's recovery began in earnest. The trial that followed became a national spectacle. Evidence presented in court revealed the full extent of Melinda's betrayal. Financial records showed how she had exploited her daughter's fabricated illness to fund her extravagant lifestyle, while medical experts testified about the harm inflicted on Ava through repeated poisoning. The surveillance footage of Melinda administering the drugs in the hospital was the most damning piece of evidence, leaving little room for her defense. Melinda's legal team argued that she suffered from mental illness, specifically Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a condition in which caregivers fabricate or induce illnesses in others for attention or sympathy. While experts acknowledged the diagnosis, prosecutors countered that her actions were calculated and motivated by greed. The meticulously staged social media posts, the deliberate manipulation of Ava's health, and the extravagant spending painted a picture of a woman who had prioritized fame and fortune over her own child's well-being. The community that had once rallied behind Melinda was devastated. Neighbors, friends, and local supporters who had poured their time and resources into helping Ava felt betrayed. Many struggled to reconcile the image of the loving, selfless mother they thought they knew with the cruel manipulator revealed in court. Social media erupted with outrage, and Melinda's followers abandoned her en masse. Her YouTube channel, once a beacon of hope and inspiration, became a dark reminder of her lies. Ava, now living with her Aunt Sarah Mitchell, began the slow process of rebuilding her life. The road to recovery was long and uncertain, both physically and emotionally. Ava had spent years believing she was terminally ill, only to learn that her suffering had been orchestrated by the one person she trusted most. Sarah worked tirelessly to create a safe and nurturing environment for her niece, shielding her from the media frenzy while helping her navigate the trauma of her past. Melinda was sentenced to 25 years in prison for aggravated assault, child abuse, and fraud. As the verdict was read, she showed little emotion, her once charismatic demeanor replaced by a cold, detached expression. The judge's final words echoed in the courtroom, emphasizing the lasting harm done to Ava and the community that had believed in her lies. The case left a profound impact, sparking national conversations about the dark side of social media and the dangers of unchecked online personas. Ava's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how easily deception can thrive in the age of instant connectivity. Though justice had been served, the scars left behind would take years to heal. Ava's resilience, however, became a testament to survival. Away from the cameras and the spotlight, she began to discover a life free from manipulation, a life that was finally her own. Thank you for watching Mystery Minds. This case reminds us of the lengths some people will go to for attention and greed, even at the expense of those they should protect the most. What are your thoughts on this shocking story? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling true crime tales. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.